What did your parents teach you that you had to unlearn? For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. My mum told me you couldn't wear tampons until you've had a baby. Tampons were a revelation for me when I learned all the cool girls at school used them. What was her reasoning for even telling you this? Like, was it the usual misguided hymen? But then why after a baby and not, like, marriage? I am so confused. My mother didn't know about tampons until college simply because feminine hygiene was not discussed. The school nurse gave her a pad and told her it was going to be a month occurrence, and to discuss it further with her mother. That conversation was probably about the 5 seconds it took to be told things like that are not to be discussed. To understand the mindset, my great-grandmother told my grandmother that if she was getting periods then she was having, and that was that. How my great-grandmother came to that belief is open to interpretation, but obviously things were different 80+ years ago in rural New England. My mother, despite her other faults as a parent, and they are numerous, was quite good about encouraging me to ask questions about the body, and if I was too embarrassed to ask, to consult the encyclopedia or one of the books we had about anatomy and such. She didn't want me to be as ignorant of something as simple as a tampon until I was an adult, because there was nothing embarrassing about having a period. That in the real world, people don't have extreme and violent fights over minimal things, and then act like nothing happened once it's over. Also, throwing tantrums are not the appropriate way to handle problems. Edit. Wow, this blew up. If anyone wants advice or someone to talk to about crazy family dysfunction, please PM. I know the holidays are coming up and things tend to get crazy this time of year. Before taking that bait from your crazy aunt, message me and we'll talk about how crazy she is and avoid the drama. You got this. Also, to the people trying to make this political, just stop being passive-aggressive. My mum is the worst at that. And I used to follow in her steps, until a friend told me I was doing it. Now I am trying to retrain my mum. It does not work. I go to visit my parents, and let's say my mum wants me to help her out doing something. If she doesn't ask clearly, I won't help. Because if I do, she will be like, no, don't worry, I can do it. But if I don't, she will be heavily citing, walking all around the place like she is busy and has so much work to do, looking at me meanly. I would be like, do you need help? She would just answer, no, I'm fine. Well, if you're fine, that's fine for me too. I hate when she does that. How hard is it just to ask? She wants my sisters, my dad, and me just to guess what she wants. And we are so used to it that we just know. But I'm not acting on it anymore. I see my sisters being pissed off at me but not saying anything. They're as much passive-aggressive as my mum. Of course I'll have a mail later, or when we're talking on the phone a few days later, she will hint that she's angry at me. But it's over. I have decided that if they want anything, they can ask. If I need anything, that's what I do now. It's so much easier as well. I never feel angry at people for stupid things anymore. Of course people aren't mind readers. Edit. Because some answers I've got really start annoying me. No, I am not myself being passive-aggressive. I tell her quite often that she could just ask. I do the dishes and clean the table after eating. Of course I do that. And if there's a dinner, I will help her prepare it, of course. But I haven't lived in that house for nearly 15 years now. So when I come to visit, no, it's not always obvious that I should do some specific chores unless my mother explains to me what she wants. If she says in October that she'll needs to buy a new dress to wear for Christmas, I don't straight away assume that she wants me to drive her 50 kilometers to do some shopping, because my parents live in the middle of nowhere. Or like I explained in one of my replies, it's not because there are 5 kilos of carrots in the garage that I should assume that she wants me to help her clean them, then cut them off to store in the freezer, right after I have traveled 2 hours to visit her. No, if I visit, I don't tend to assume it is to do chores. And I'm certainly not going to willingly guess it if she's not going to ask properly. They are just suffering kids. Meme is an extremely dangerous one because it treats them like they're victims of their own, they're not. Thanks to you/Big Lark for sharing the study I was thinking of but couldn't find. Being on the receiving end of some extreme right as the we're all victims and zero tolerance crazes landed, I got over by administration so bad, there were times I'd get my kicked by 5+ guys for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, then I'd get suspended for being involved in a fight. I was simultaneously a victim and a criminal, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And my parents just accepted whatever the school or other parents said without question, because they didn't seem to think that there were people who lie out there. My kids are going to be taught how to defuse and get away from situations, but also that self-defense is a human right, and if they feel threatened, they absolutely should act on it. Once I accepted these things, my condition improved considerably. I'm sure this is a bad lesson learned by many people, me included. I automatically would eat what's in front of me even if it made me stuffed, trying now to acknowledge when I'm comfortably full. I guess it's a hangover from when food was limited, and also as a convenience for the parent, eat now so that you're not hungry in an hour when we're out for e.g. Judging portions badly might be partially responsible too. You can reheat, preserve, and reuse soups, gravies, etc., food to stop it going to waste, something that might not have been so simple even just a few generations ago. My parents paid bills based on the cut-off date rather than the due date. They also acted like a good credit score was not a big deal. They drove theirs into the ground and then started putting things in my name. Took years, but now I pay my bills before spending anything on unnecessary things and have paid off all the delinquent bills they left on my credit. I am now teaching my 6-year-old to manage her own money by not spending all she has, but saving a bit too. The other day she had $10 from saving up her allowances for a while, and when she went shopping, she spent only $6 because she said she wanted to save the rest. I damn near cried. Yet it's amazing my parents have been able to survive this long. They've lived paycheck to paycheck their entire lives but had every new toy and gadget that came out. They would into fights a lot over money and would always because they thought they were gonna lose the house. I've had to put so much work into improving my credit score after taking advice from my parents. Now that I have a daughter of my own, I plan on opening a credit card up in her name, making small purchases, and paying it off every month, same method I used to improve my credit, to build her some credit ahead of time and try to teach her to save money and set her up for success. Edit. Thanks for the feedback, everyone. I appreciate both the positive and negatives. I really wasn't expecting so many responses. Opening credit for my daughter isn't going to happen until sometime in the distant future. It's just a discussion my husband and I had and something I thought was worth thinking about. I'm now leaning towards maybe just adding her to my credit cards when she's older so she can get the credit history but is protected should anything happen to it. Some people are saying that opening a card up for her in her name would be fraud, so I certainly wouldn't want to do anything that is illegal or hurt her credit in any way. However, I think there are laws that are supposed to prevent abuse, but I'll definitely have to research that more. As parents, I think we just always want our kids to be better off than we were. I love that idea. I think the lifestyle my parents lived is why my brother has grown up to be kind of an entitled brat who only comes around when he wants something. I love him to death, but it's really gonna bite him in the someday. My parents always bitched about credit card debt, and worried about how they were gonna pay their bills, but then my brother and I always got what we wanted for Christmas every year. I know they meant well, but looking back it seems so irresponsible. Just yesterday my dad said it was awful that I'm not buying Christmas presents for 1-year-old. She just got a ton of clothes, toys, and other necessities for her birthday, and despite all the toys she has, she'd rather play with a Tupperware lid. She isn't even old enough to really be grateful for things like that yet and has no idea what's going on. But hey, let's start teaching her early that money, toys, and presents is how we say I love you. Saving money. You don't love your daughter if you don't buy her a bunch of she doesn't need.